Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to our webinar presented by LexisNexis. Monitoring bankruptcy trends during a pandemic can help you grow your practice. Please take a moment to open the chat module by clicking on the chat bubble icon at the bottom of your screen. This will then open a chat area in the lower right corner. You will see a drop-down menu with options next to the words "to." If you have any technical problems today, please send a chat message to host, that's me, and I'll help you walk you through those issues. If you have questions or comments for our presenter today, you can chat to all panelists. And if you have comments for the entire audience, you can chat to all participants. There will be a recording of this webcast available tomorrow, and we will send all registrants an email with that link. The sponsor for today's webcast is LexisNexis. Today's presenter is Mark DeAlderit, CourtLink litigation specialist for LexisNexis. Mark joined LexisNexis in 2017 as a legal account executive, helping law firms get information and insights needed to develop winning case strategies and advice for clients, organizations, and agencies on all matters of importance. Mark is currently a CourtLink litigation specialist who specializes in helping small law firms find success with powerful docket research from Lexis Advance CourtLink. Mark will begin the presentation, and at the end of the presentation, we will have some time for a quick Q&A. But with that being said, I will now pass things over to Mark to get started. Mark.
All right, great, thank you. So today we're going to discuss monitoring bankruptcy trends during a pandemic and how that can help grow practice areas. So first, we're going to speak on the effect COVID-19 has had on commercial and consumer bankruptcies and the lack of precedents that attorneys don't have to rely on. We're also going to discuss some other areas of emerging litigation shortly after that. Then we'll talk about a docket research tool that can help streamline workflow and help to prospect for clients by monitoring litigation. And then we'll wrap up with a Q&A session. So if you're a law firm leader seeking to expand your firm's practice areas, you're certainly not alone. Many firms are in the same boat and may be seeking other practice areas that represent growth opportunities. Whether you want to expand into bankruptcy or not, some legal experts argue that we are about to see a cultural shift among law firms. In particular, small and mid-sized firms that previously did not have bankruptcy practices are going to have to open them now, or at very least, they're going to have to handle some bankruptcy cases in order to satisfy client demand and compensate for slowdowns in other practice areas. So to that end, small and mid-sized firms would be wise to prepare themselves for the avalanche to come. So first we'll talk about consumer bankruptcies. So an economic downturn combined with a retail market that is seeing more and more brick and mortar stores close portend that the U.S. is about to experience a wave of Chapter 11 bankruptcies, Chapter 11 bankruptcies specifically are rising. And they are the chapter types that give business debtors relief from creditors in order to reorganize and emerge with their companies intact. These filings totaled 2,063 from January 1st to April 21st this year, versus just 1,736 through the same period in 2019. What's more, unemployment continues to rise sharply. This is another sign that businesses are struggling and bankruptcies could be at the floodgates. In recent years, bankruptcies, or at least Chapter 11 filings, have experienced a lull. So firms were trimming unnecessary bankruptcy attorneys and keeping their staff lean. Now, as firms everywhere prepare for the mad rush of bankruptcies, some are already hearing from clients who just a few months ago had not considered restructuring alternatives or contingency planning. Bankruptcy experts agree, looking at a new spike in unemployment and remembering how the Great Recession caused a wave of bankruptcy cases from consumers seeking a reset after getting too far behind in debt. So this graph compares the the 1 year moving average of the S&P 500 quarterly returns and Chapter 11 bankruptcy filings. Normally, these two series are negatively correlated and trending towards different directions. But as you can see, the period between 2007 and 2010 was an exception. As S&P quarterly returns rebounded, bankruptcy filings also increased. It was not until 2011 that the usually opposing trends returned to normal. So in other words, the impact of a recession on business bankruptcy can extend much longer than usual. If past trends hold true, then we can expect, as COVID-19 drags the economy into further recession, this will likely lead us into additional bankruptcy filings, and they will continue to remain high even as the economy rebounds. Most everyone expects consumer bankruptcies to increase as well, and the industry in general believes this to be true. But the question is, what will the bankruptcy landscape look like? Will it be a gradual and steady increase, or will it be a sharp spike? Consumer bankruptcies have yet to see the same surge as commercial bankruptcies. Reasons include the foreclosure moratorium on all federally backed mortgages, which are 2/3 to 3/4 of all mortgages, as well as student loan collections, which have also stopped. And there is a lot of support for state moratoriums on debt collections and rent evictions. These initiatives have all reduced the immediate pressure for people to declare bankruptcy. But in the long run, more people will file bankruptcy as their financial problems accumulate. One thing that we do know from research is that most people say they've struggled financially for 2 to 5 years before actually filing for bankruptcy. One of the major issues I hear from attorneys all the time is that they are facing a lack of precedence in COVID-19 related matters simply because we've never had this happen before. And so I really like this quote from University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign law professor Robert M. Lawless, in which he says, "When you think about the current situation, it's just so unprecedented. There's no past analog that we can look to as a model for how the consumer bankruptcy system is going to be affected. The financial devastation of the Great Depression unfolded over many years. The closest precedent is the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, but the consumer credit system didn't exist then like it does today. When it comes to making predictions about consumer debt and the pandemic, there is no historical precedent on which to draw." There is a tight historical correlation between bankruptcy filings and increased unemployment coupled with rises in mortgage delinquencies. Since 2008, bankruptcy filings have increased more or less in tandem with job loss and missed mortgage payments. Although consumer bankruptcies are down in 2020 from 2019, most experts expect them to increase going forward because most people try to weather the financial storm before filing. It just doesn't make sense to file bankruptcy if debts are only going to continue accumulating after filing. Because of this, we may start seeing the surge in consumer bankruptcy filings after economic recovery. Due to the current pandemic, litigation has also increased in other areas, including insurance claims, breach of contract claims, estates and trusts, and matters of labor and employment. Again, there is no precedence or seminal law for attorneys to rely on. Attorneys and firms now find it crucial to monitor similar cases to see what strategies are used, what is being filed, what is being cited in legal arguments, and how judges are ruling on matters related to COVID-19 litigation. CourtLink is a product that I champion. It is a docket research tool which allows you to research court dockets and court documents in your courts of interest. It allows you to operate more efficiently while not having to worry about increased billing for docket and document retrieval. This can help position law firms as aware, responsive, and competitive in these challenging times. Monitoring similar dockets can help you make strategic decisions, especially for COVID-19 related matters due to that lack of precedence. You'll have the ability to view other similar dockets and the underlying documents to stay updated on how cases are proceeding in your courts of interest. You can monitor and track emerging issues, which allows you to set alerts to follow new litigation events as they occur in real time. You can search across courts nationwide in a single search to find dockets with similar matters. That allows you to monitor ongoing dockets and use them as a potential roadmap for your own matters. You can monitor, track, and read the filings and exhibits associated with any federal docket, whether your client is a party or not. You can eliminate fluctuations in your PACER bill because CourtLink has unlimited usage at a flat rate. And you can drive new law firm business opportunities by getting notified of newly filed cases and default judgments to quickly identify potential clients. CourtLink gives you access to the industry's largest collection of dockets and documents. We have almost 190 million dockets and counting. We add roughly 100,000 dockets every single week on average. We have over 36 million court documents available as well. We have the broadest federal court coverage, including our U.S. tax courts, Judicial Panel on Multi-District Litigation, U.S. Court of Appeal for Veterans Claims, PTAB, and more. We also have access to over 1,300 state courts online, which are actively updated. We have up to 29 years of civil litigation history and 100% of cases that are filed at the federal civil level. We can actually search across bankruptcy courts using 12 different parameters, which include searches for debtors, creditors, docket numbers, social security numbers, and specific bankruptcy chapters. Here you can see all of the editable fields for which you can use to search across bankruptcy courts across the entire country. So whether you are making an enthusiastic choice to expand into bankruptcy, or you feel the need to roll up your sleeves and be prepared should you have no choice, it would be wise to evaluate your firm's capabilities now and decide what you need to do to be ready. A big factor that firms should consider in their preparations is whether they will need to use technology specifically designed to handle bankruptcy filings, or if they can move full speed ahead without it. Similarly, they should consider whether they'll need to repurpose attorneys from slowing practice areas, such as real estate finance, for instance, to handle client requests. While you may be able to hire new bankruptcy attorneys, keep in mind that it may be slim pickings out there. Bankruptcy attorneys are in high demand, and you may find that you have trouble recruiting a suitable candidate, particularly if your firm doesn't already have an established practice. Some firms that launch bankruptcy practices consider hiring an experienced bankruptcy attorney to train their lawyers, which is an excellent option. However, this may not be possible at a time when bankruptcy lawyers are busier than ever, so it's also wise to look into what bankruptcy training materials are available online. Developing a new practice area can be challenging, but many firms that add bankruptcy to their portfolios are finding that the additional revenue stream is well worth the trouble. And so now I'll go into CourtLink itself and just show you some of the ways we can search across bankruptcy courts, as well as ways we can use CourtLink to prospect for bankruptcy attorneys, or bankruptcy new business opportunities. Okay. So Lexis Advance CourtLink is the largest repository of court dockets and court documents available in the industry. Like I said, we have 100% full federal coverage, and the reason for that is we purchase everything from PACER. We are their largest customer. If anybody out there thinks their PACER bill is bad, you can just imagine how big our PACER bill is. But unlike PACER, we've built on some additional functionality. First off, we can click into our Courts tab here, and this allows us to search across multiple courts all at once. If we want to search across all U.S. bankruptcy courts, for example, It's as simple as clicking on a checkbox. When I expand the bankruptcy courts out, as you can see, once again, we have full coverage. When we choose our bankruptcy courts, you'll notice that our editable fields down here have changed. Now we can search by debtor, creditor, docket number, attorney, law firm, social security number, trustee, EIN number. We can even filter to specific bankruptcy types. We can prospect potential new business by selecting perhaps what bankruptcy chapters we would like to set up alerts for. We could also perhaps enter our attorney as pro se litigants to track anybody that's trying to file bankruptcies on their own behalf, because we know that in many of those situations, a judge, will turn them away and tell them to lawyer up if they're not doing things properly right there in bankruptcy court. We can then create an alert by clicking on our bell here, choose our delivery method. We can enter email addresses for anyone that needs to be made aware of new Chapter 7s in our courts of interest being filed, and we can update you as frequently as daily. So then when we create the alert, we will be notified as frequently as daily when any Chapter 7s, in this example, filed pro se in U.S. bankruptcy courts are being filed every single day. We can also narrow down specifically to certain states if we wanted to get a little bit more granular with it, simply by going into our states and choosing our courts of interest. We can also search across dockets and court documents. We can search across briefs, pleadings, motions, complaints, exhibits using our single search functionality. We've essentially created a Google-like search bar that allows you to search across our bank of 190 million dockets and 36 million plus court documents, which of course are being added to every single day. I've gone ahead and pulled a Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I will show you up in here. This was filed in November of 2019. As you can see within CourtLink, you'll have access to everything that you would have within Pacer. We can view everyone that's a party to this case, both representation for creditors, debtors, interested parties, and the trustee. We can see the full schedule, as well as the associated cases that may be involved with this particular docket. Finally, going into the proceedings, we can actually get into all of these documents by clicking on the hyperlinks on the left-hand side. There is no price involved with accessing court documents through CourtLink, because CourtLink, again, is a flat fee subscription-based tool. And you can see here is the petition that I've downloaded. It appears just as if it would from Pacer. And all of these documents are available to download at your leisure. You can download as much or as little as you'd like. There is no cost associated with downloading any documents with CourtLink. Near the bottom of our proceedings, we will then see our claims, which we can update. There are currently no claims available in this case, but if there were, this is where we see them. We can also access the proof of claims for these cases as well at no charge. And then finally, a full list of our creditors. We can also track any dockets of interest. So with Pacer, typically you'll get one free look when something has happened within your case. After that, if you need to look at it again or if you have not downloaded it, you will be charged. If you want to look at a docket that you're not party to, you will be charged for that as well. What we can do within CourtLink is track any dockets of interest, whether you're a party to it or not. We can do this similarly to the way that we create a new litigation event by adding our email address, and we can update you as frequently as 3 times a day. So then when you create the track, you will be notified of any movement in this docket by an email notification, which will show you the last line item and what's happened, as well as a link back out to your docket. And again, we can do this whether you're a party to the docket or not. This is incredibly useful for attorneys, paralegals, legal assistants right now. Because of the lack of precedence due to COVID-19, attorneys, again, are finding it more crucial than ever to be able to monitor cases for similar matters that they're working on so that they can see what is being filed. They can see what strategies are being used. They can see what law is being cited in the legal documents that are being filed, and they can see how judges are reacting. And finally, CourtLink will also allow you to search court documents as well. So when we click on the dockets menu, we can click down into the court documents. And this will allow us to search across briefs, pleadings, motions, complaints, etc. We can sort however we'd like. I'll sort newest to oldest. We can sort by specific document types that we might want to look through. We can sort through specific courts if we're only interested in California bankruptcy courts, for example. We can sort specifically to those courts. We can narrow our timeline. We can narrow by specific practice areas. After we've chosen our courts of interest, we can sort by attorneys that have filed. We can sort by keywords. The algorithm will identify words that are showing up most often in our result set. We can actually even narrow specifically to documents that have been filed in front of certain judges. Once we have narrowed our result set down to where we're satisfied and we truly want to find that needle in a haystack, we really want to find that, maybe that motion that we have that's a little bit different than anything we've done before, we can actually do a search within results. And this is where we can conduct a search using maybe very narrow language or very specific language that you might be looking for. That way, we can find that needle in a haystack in your result set so that you can repurpose, another legal document that's already been drafted for your own argument. And we have 36 million of those and counting. With that being said, that is a quick demonstration of CourtLink, and that is our discussion on the effect of COVID-19 on bankruptcies. So at this point, Carolyn, I guess we can open it up for questions.
Yeah, and again, if anyone has additional questions for Mark, you can chat them in the chat box right now. But Mark, a few that did come in just about bankruptcy in general. What factors do you see differentiating this current recession with recessions of the past, and how does that impact and affect bankruptcy projections as we move forward?
Well, the current unemployment crisis was actually artificially created by state and local government stay-at-home orders in response to the pandemic. In past recessions, increases in the unemployment rate resulted from shocks in the recessions, not from deliberate government decisions to freeze economic activity. So I guess one explanation could be that some courts have been closed for business, which makes it difficult logistically for filing, bankruptcies. Some law offices have, also been closed, quite a few, in fact, and so perhaps consumers were reluctant to declare bankruptcies without meeting with an attorney. Um, but the federal stimulus payments, and some of the expanded unemployment benefits could have been, helpful in keeping consumers afloat, at least for the time being.
Okay, and in keeping with bankruptcy, other than rising unemployment and foreclosures, what do you think are some other possible factors that might contribute to a rise in bankruptcies?
Um, Typically, during an economic recession, credit availability decreases. And so, getting credit for, either businesses or consumers can be, much more difficult. It could be a lot harder for them to get a loan or, a line of credit, which is terrible because it's, probably at a time when they need it the most. So it's going to be up to, individual lending institutions to kind of assess the risk of lending, during this time of economic uncertainty, if you will. But there's research also to suggest out there that people are, twice as likely to file for bankruptcy if they lose their health insurance or if there's an interruption in their health insurance. There's a stat out there that says, if all it takes is a gap of about 2 years, in health insurance, which makes, bankruptcy twice as likely to occur to those types of people. And of course, during the pandemic, with the unemployment rate being so high, it's obviously contributed to a lot of people losing, some of those benefits.
Okay. And then just a handful came in about the CourtLink presentation itself. Is it possible to get notifications for dockets that you are not a party to?
Yeah, that's actually one of the greatest, or one of the biggest benefits of CourtLink. It's very easy to search, and so if you're, searching for a matter even outside of bankruptcy, some of these other areas of emerging litigation, breach of contracts, for example, you can, search across complaints so that you can find, dockets that are very, very similar to the same types of matters that you are handling, and then you can track those dockets even though you're not a party to them, to kind of see what's gone on in those cases. And a lot of attorneys are using these types of strategies, currently because there's, kind of no roadmap. And I keep saying it, there's a lack of precedent simply because we've never been shut down due to a pandemic in the past. This is all new for attorneys, and all new arguments are being crafted, and we'll be seeing a lot of new law arising because of it. And so, being able to track dockets that are very similar to the matters that attorneys are currently litigating is incredibly useful.
Okay, and one more about when you're searching for court documents in the proceedings, can you also access petitions and proof of claim forms?
Yeah, yeah. Anything that has been filed in the courts that we have access to, we can access through CourtLink. So again, in bankruptcy courts, being those are federal matters, we can access any court documents in the proceedings in those documents. So that would include the proof of claim forms, that would include the petitions, that would include any exhibits.
Okay. A question about CourtLink. Does it cover all U.S. federal court cases or only ones that specifically have a bankruptcy matter?
No, CourtLink covers all federal civil criminal courts as well as a number of other courts. I'll share my screen again here just one more time, just to show the full scope of our federal coverage. So judicial panel, multi-district litigation, class actions, right? Adversary courts for bankruptcy, bankruptcy courts, courts of appeals, veterans claims, federal claims, international trade, all U.S. district courts, International Trade Commission, Supreme Court, tax court, PTAB, and of course on the civil level, again, we have 100% full federal coverage.
Great. One final question that came in, I guess that kind of answers it a little bit, but how many courts can be searched at once within CourtLink?
You can search as many courts as you'd like it on. So if you are an attorney in, California, and you wanted to search, our state courts as well as our federal courts all in one fell swoop, you can do so, which is useful because a lot of attorneys will have to, search for their local e-courts or, their docketing system, which will differ from county to county. And then they'll have to use Pacer for, searching in federal courts. Well, in CourtLink, you can actually search, across all of our federal courts as well as, our over 1,300 state courts. And you can kind of cross-search them at the same time as well, if you will.
Great. That's all the questions that came across on my end. If anyone has any particular questions about the program, is there anyone in particular they should reach out to, or, if someone wants to learn more, what are some next steps?
They can reach out to me directly. There's actually two of us that cover the country. And right now we've actually been doing kind of like a lot of one-on-one type of demonstrations, and also having just additional discussions on some different practice areas as well. Bankruptcy has certainly been one that a lot of people have been incredibly interested in, because we do expect to see such a large increase in bankruptcy filings, going forward. But even, in the civil litigation side of things, breach of contracts, employee matters. There's lots of class actions that are arising against colleges and universities. Insurance matters. A lot of people are very curious to learn a little bit more about these practice areas, and we're more than willing to, have one-on-one kind of conversations about that kind of stuff as well. And we do offer free trial IDs if anyone would like to run through a quick demonstration and see if it's something that could help them, improve their workflow, perhaps eliminate Pacer bill, things of that nature.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you, Mark. Thank you for that presentation and all the information that you shared. And again, all of our registrants will receive an email tomorrow with a link to the recording of this webcast, and we will send that email tomorrow. So this does conclude today's webcast. Thank you all so much for attending, and please visit our event calendar to sign up for future webcasts. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye, everybody.